Today's video is sponsored by BetterHelp.com, and I've been with them for a long time. BetterHelp is an online platform where we found that you can effectively communicate with your therapist. Now, you begin by filling out a questionnaire, and then you'll be matched with a therapist within a couple of days. And if that match isn't ideal for you, you can certainly make an adjustment there. Now, you're going to be encouraged to journal, and also they have the availability for group therapy on a wide array of topics, and I really like that. So as the need exists, go ahead and take the necessary steps to get the help that you need. And just know that BetterHelp has a 4.5 rating on Trustpilot, so it indeed is a platform you can trust. There's a link below the video that will take you there. Hey, Team Healthy. Glad to be here with you on yet another episode of Unbound. Keep in mind that Unbound is where I take questions and comments from you, and I speak into it in ways that I probably wouldn't be able to do so in just some of my other teaching videos. So if you have any questions or comments that you'd like to have addressed, put them in the comments section, and I'll read them, and we'll see if they come up on further episodes. Now, today we have a tough one. I know that there are times when you realize that narcissist over there who's been treating you poorly doesn't just have it out for you. They consider you to be repugnant. And when we talk about repugnant, disgusting or unacceptable or just repulsive to them, and they can treat you in that kind of way. I have 3 different questions here and comments that I'm going to get into that go into this topic. And I want you to understand, first, if you have been on the receiving end of this kind of treatment where the message is you are repugnant, my heart goes out to you, and there are ways that you need to get through this, but it's probably going to mean having a major sense of separation from the person that deems you to be like this. Here's the first one. And this is where I got the title for my topic here today. This person says, I often felt that the narcissist in my life deemed me to be repugnant. He'd say, now, where did you get an idea like that? Then he'd go on acting like he would care for a minute. Then he would go on a rant, telling me how to act or what I should have said and done. And then he'll go back to the other way. It was a constant minute by minute flip-flop, and it worked. He broke me. It's a miracle that I'm not in an institution because I think he was pushing me in that direction. Slowly but surely, though, I feel like I'm gaining my strength. Okay, I want you to see some things here that are a part of some of the stuff that I talk with you about. He'd say, now, where did you get an idea like that? Okay, that's gaslighting. So you would say something like, well, here are my thoughts, and it'd be like, why would you come up with a dumb thought like that? Then he would go on a rant. That's his intimidation. That's his manipulation. And it was a constant flip-flop. Again, that's just his confusion and his manipulation toward you. It worked. He broke me. He would be dominant. He would be a bully. He would care for a minute, and then he would go back. Okay, that caring for a moment, that's a modest form of love bombing. And you can see just in this one little scenario, we have, multitudes of the narcissistic tactics in play. And so I'm wanting you to ask, when you try to figure out, what am I going to do with a situation like this? First, let's try to get objectivity, and that's an enormous part of your healing. Learn to stick with hard facts. What do the facts tell us? Well, we can get to that place by asking the question, what's this narcissist's goal? And I think it's pretty clear. This person's goal is to find power by rendering you powerless. And that's the way most narcissists will operate. Dominance and control is something that they crave, and it's a compensation for them feeling like their life at one point has felt out of control. They've been judged, they've been shamed, and as a result, it's like, I've got to get on top of this. And so rather than thinking, I'm going to take a much healthier direction, what they do is they say, well, if dominance and shame and guilt and criticism is the name of the game, that I'll just be the one who's the best at that, and I'll render it before you have a chance to render it to me. And so that's what this guy is doing. The narcissist needs you to feel inadequate. And again, we can ask, well, objectively, what does that tell us about the narcissist? Why do they need you to be so down? For example, when you have a perspective that that person doesn't understand or doesn't agree with, it would be very different for him to say, okay, you and I are thinking differently. Help me understand how you arrived at that conclusion. And then that person can actually have the notion that says, maybe I'll learn something. Narcissists don't think that way. It's like, if you're different, you rejected me, didn't you? And then they come towards you with all of this harshness. You're repugnant. I can't stand who you are. I can't stand the fact that you don't hold me in the highest regard that I require because of my fragile ego. Let's take it a little bit further. We have another person writes in and says, I have enough guilt and shame for staying as long as I did in a cold, cruel, horrendously abusive relationship. Was it so bad of me to hope that we could have eventually changed since he, quote, loved me so much? Another episode of love bombing. Was it so awful of me to take my marital vows seriously? Was it the worst thing in the world to not want yet another divorce? Okay, here we have a person who says, well, I got into this relationship and it turned out to be an awful relationship. Again, we go back to that repugnance and repulsiveness and lack of acceptance. And this woman is saying, I think that I started out with the right intentions. I wanted to be somebody who professed marital fidelity and goodness and honor. And then all I got, for the most part, was the opposite of all of that. Now, this one's an illustration of how a narcissist can sometimes pick up on your needs. Maybe it's even neediness. In this case, apparently this person had either been married before or had a significant long-term relationship, and she got into this relationship with this man hoping like, I really want a reprieve. I'm looking for something that's much better and much different. And yet it turned out to be the same old thing. By the way, just taking this aside, this is not blaming this woman at all, but sometimes we tend to fall back on patterns that are familiar to us. And so, for example, if he was controlling or overbearing at first, it's like, but at the same time, kind of nice and pleasant and friendly. Sometimes you can overlook things like that. Narcissists pick up on stuff like that. And in this guy's case, I'm going to assume that he started out being the nice guy. And then over time, it became very apparent, oh, he's got some plans for you, and it's not in an uplifting kind of way. In his case, he was looking for narcissistic supply. I need somebody kind of like this first one. I need somebody to be beneath me. I need somebody who's going to give me what I want and who's going to allow me to be in the superior position. And when you fail to go along with that plan, I'm going to remind you that it's your job. And this woman just felt like she was worn down. From time to time, he might say, I have a love for you. And yet it apparently had hooks on the backside. And so narcissists, rather than saying when we differ or when my needs don't match your needs, which is normal, by the way, what they do is they go into the harshness mode. By the way, let me throw a little Latin at you. I know some of you may like word origins. Repugnant. There's a Latin root word called pugnare, which means to fight. We often think of a boxer as a pugilist, or somebody who's pugnacious. They like to fight. Repugnant. They're constantly fighting against you, is what the word repugnant actually means. And narcissists will approach relationships as if it's a competition, and they must fight, and they must win, and they must conquer, and they have to dominate. That's what's going on. Now, let's take a look at a third question. This person says, I know this may be a crazy question. All right, let's just pause right there. Who taught you that your questions are crazy? Probably somebody who said, I don't like being questioned. This is not a crazy question. I know this may be a crazy question, but after 25 years, how do you stand in self-respect? And that's really the $64,000 question, isn't it? That the first thing we want to do when we know that we're up against somebody who wants to fight against you and considers you to be repulsive, you'll notice that over and over and over, I come back and say, let's take a look at what truth is. Let's take a look at the facts. In other words, be objective. What's going on here? And when you are on the receiving end of the narcissist vial, you can think, well, I guess I must be an awful human being. No, that vial that's being put out there toward you is much more of a commentary about the one giving it than the one receiving it. It's necessary for you to objectively recognize that. People who are at peace, people who have contentment, people who have healthy, a sense of love and goodness, don't treat people in a repugnant kind of way. And so remind yourself, I'm not the issue here. I mean, yeah, I need to take a look at my responses, but this person is bringing a lot of unfinished business on the inside, and I need to remind myself, if I were not on the scene, that person would still be acting the same. Try not to personalize it. I know it's hard to say, don't take it personally because you're the one that's receiving it, but understand this is more about that person than it is about you. And then when you ask, how do you stand in self-respect, go back to the basics. What do I believe are some of the core, like cornerstone characteristics of a healthy way of life? And here on Team Healthy, I talk about DRC, Dr. C. DRC stands for dignity, respect, and civility. Do I believe in those kind of core tenets? Do I believe in honor? Do I believe in freedom to choose? Do I believe in having contentment? Do I believe in assertiveness? Those kind of things. Who am I? What do I believe in? How do I define a healthy personality? Write it out. And then make certain that you have a well-conceived notion of what you are. And then a third thing in terms of how you can stand in your self-respect is to take those healthy characteristics and then ask, in what ways might I apply these characteristics when that other person is being contrarian? So in other words, if somebody comes along and says, I think you're stupid and you're an idiot too, okay, what does my dignity, respect, and civility tell me? And then what you do is you take your healthy principles and you apply it hour by hour. From 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock, when this person's down on my case, my plan between 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock is to stand in respect. I respect myself. I don't feel like I have to defend myself, etc. And so you personalize the teachings. Now, I know that's a very, very, very quick overview. Therapy goes much deeper into all of that, which is why I recommend that. But it is possible for you to pull back and recognize this person is not the giver of truth. This person is the giver of confusion. I need to decide what my separate truth is. And if they deem me to be repugnant, all I know is they give repugnance because that's what they carry on the inside. It's not about me. It's about them. So I hope that these thoughts can give you some good fuel for thought, food for thought. Thank you for letting me be on the path with you. If you haven't already hit that subscribe button, I would encourage you to do so. Now, obviously, I've just referenced the fact that sometimes you need counseling to work some of this through. It's a much more complex thing than I can say in just a few minutes. If you have a need, you know that I have a sponsor, BetterHelp.com. There's a link below, and if the need is there and it persists, get the help that you need because people can work this through with you, and you can get that objectivity that I'm talking about. Also, make sure you go to my website, and we have my courses, which are 25 or more videos per course with handouts and questions, and they're very extensive, and they can be extremely therapeutic as you are on your growth trajectory, along with my webinars, which are 90-minute PowerPoint presentations. I have a lot of articles, and then, of course, I have my books, so we have a lot of resources for you. My heart goes out to you when somebody says, I deem you to be repugnant, whether they use that word or they just imply it. You don't need to be treated that way, and I'm hoping you can pull back and individualize and remind yourself, that person's troubled, I know who I am, and I know what the truth is about me, and you move forward based on that. So, Team Healthy, stay strong, keep learning, and I'm hoping you can take yourself further and further towards objectivity, which can be a very major first step towards finding your internal peace.